مصلحا ومجددا فارنوا بنظر طاهر وجناني.
Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, with us today we have our beloved brother Fayaz Aslam Saib from India. And today we will hear how he accepted the true Islam, Islam Ahmadiyya. Assalamu Alaikum Fayaz Bhai.
Walaikum salam, Razi Sahib. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So
Yep.
Fayaz Saib, if you can start and tell us how you found the true Islam, Islam Ahmadiyya.
Yep. So actually, I belong to what you say an orthodox or backward Sunni Muslim family. So my father, right? So he used to tell me like in his childhood, right? We are from a village. Now it's a town. So village called Udangudi in South India. So it happened that he can still now he's by the grace of Allah, my father is also an Ahmadi now. He did bayat after me, but he used to tell like in his childhood, right, there was severe opposition in his village at one time where a Ahmadi child unfortunately has passed away, and they could not find a burial ground, and they went to the Sunni Muslim burial ground, which was the only one present in that village at that time. So it happened like that there was a great issue at the time. People were not allowing the even the child's body to be buried. uh, so it went to the police as well. The police came in. So at the time, right, and so anyway they allowed the child to be buried because there is no other way open. So they allowed the child to be buried. At the time there was a great uproar in the village, and my father still remember the days, right, when he was very little, it means at the time. They went to everyone on the village, right, they went to the mosque and they signed, right, like they won't write to the they won't join the Qadiani group, or they won't support the Qadiani group. So that child is like, so now in Madras Jamaat there is our Maulvi Muballig, Maulvi MB Tahir Ahmad Saib. So I learned from recently, he came to my house, so I learned from him it was his uncle who is the child who was buried at that time. So that was the background. So even in my childhood, right, I was brought up in a state of mind like I still recall one day my father came home and he told about a bayan of a Maulavi, saying like Qadianis are telling like Jesus is dead. Hazrat Isa Nabiullah alayhi salatu wasalam has died, and his grave is in Kashmir. And he then after that he told like even if we believe, and we even if you want to if you just think about going to Kashmir to check out the fact, will immediately become a kafir at that time, right? So that was the state of mind. And what happened was like I still remember the days, right, in the childhood. My grandfather, so my father is getting married into a family, and my mother's name is Mubarak Begum. I later learned like that was the name of Hazrat Mubaraka Begum Sahiba, one of the daughters of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam. So they were all, everyone was Sunni Muslim only. So my grandfather's brother, his name was Marhum MKS Mohidin Ali Sahib. In the earlier days, right, I said the his village is also Udangudi only, the same place. We call it as Udangudi in southern Tamil Nadu, which is in the southern part of India. So he got to know my MK's Mohidin Lisaib. He's my grandfather's elder brother, and my grandfather was very fond of his elder brother. So he got acquainted with the Ahmadiyya beliefs, and he accepted Ahmadiyya, and he faced a lot of opposition at that time in our so the Udangudi was the old place, native place. So people all, right, my from my mother's side and from my father's side, everyone moved to Chennai, Madras, which is now Chennai, India. So there, right, I even heard from my mother like once his uncle, right, his grandfather, his father's brother. Okay, my mother's father's brother is the Ahmadi MKS Mohidin Ali Sahib. So he gave a speech in Pudupet, which is in Chennai, near it's a central Chennai. So he gave a speech. He mentioned about Sri Krishna being the prophet of God, and people also threw stones at him. Okay, so that was the state, and those actually there was some family problems, and the brothers got they what you say they separated at some point of time, and they got reunited in my mother's marriage. So this was the case. So he died. He passed away in 1984 itself. And there was so the what I why I brought this background was like my grandfather's brother and also my grandfather's mother, they accepted Ahmadiyyat, but my grandfather did not accept Ahmadiyyat. He was part and parcel of the Sunni Muslim group. But whenever we there is an occasion where the family come together or get together, right? So we used to go to the Marina Beach, which is the longest beach in India. So we used to go to Marina Beach in the on any evening of Eid, any Eid. So he immediately will start opening the topic of Jesus alayhi salam crucifixion. So whatever he knows, right, about Ahmadiyyat, he used to talk about Jesus crucifixion. He escaped from the cross. I can still remember, he's no more with us, but I still remember the words whenever he touched the subject. He'll always say, Eli, Eli, Lama Sabachthani. Why Jesus was exclaiming on the cross, like, oh God, why have you forsaken me? If it was indeed someone who got, what you say, I forgot the name, correct name. So someone got put in his place, and there was a forgery, or what, how you say that, I forgot it. So uh, someone, Allah put someone in his place. Why are as Christians or Jews claim like it was Jesus who died an accursed death? So why he has to say, like, because he gave his life for the mankind, for the redemption of mankind. So why he has to exclaim like Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani? So that's a state of things. So it's like everyone. I have two maternal uncles. Other relatives are there. My mother's sister family, everyone come together, everyone hear the story, and everyone go back. Okay, it once so I don't know, maybe Allah destined, like, I should be accepting the Ahmadiyya through him. So at one point of time, right? So I was sitting in my, so this is a state. My grandfather's brother was in Ahmadiyya, but my grandfather was not in Ahmadiyya. So but he's still inclined to Ahmadiyya because already his elder brother and mother have accepted Ahmadiyya, and then they also passed away, right? So it happened like one day I was sitting in my grandfather's place. There was a cupboard nearby. It's an automobile shop. So it can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happened like one day I was sitting on a evening time at my grandpa's shop. There's a cupboard having the automobile parts and all. There are also some bill books and all those pads and all. So underneath that, right, I saw a book in the name of India will Yesu, Jesus in India, in Tamil. So I took that book, and initially, right, my experience with Ahmadiyyat was in a academic front. So wherein they are talking about some intelligent things which I did not know, as Masimu al Islam, as Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani alayhi salatu wasalam. He was talking about some insights about some scientific things and what can reach human mind and intellect. So that is the my first introduction with Ahmadiyyat. Not I can frankly say like it's not of something like in the spiritual thing, but later it dawned upon me, and it evolved into a more spiritual experience rather than just an intellectual thing, right? So people who get uh, people who got only the taste of intellect and intelligence, right, they finally lose their way. But Alhamdulillah, so even though I entered Ahmadiyyat on seeing these arguments and all these things, right, which was at that age which was very attractive to me, but later Allah by his fuzzle, right, he moved me to the somehow into the spiritual realm of things, and I started enjoying those things as well. So I got the book, right, and then I then started talking about that. I remember the days when my grandfather, my two maternal uncles, they were all supporting about Masimu al Islam's claim. They were saying like, how can Jesus be in the heavens? Jesus is dead. My grandfather gave a very great lecture on that day, And I still remember he said like, my brother, if he's alive today, he would have been very glad to see you interested in this. He will immediately because I used to talk in the madrasas and all. I was here, right? Not like we go and become a maulavi or and all like that, but in our Sunni families and all, even in the childhood we go to the madrasas. We know, we learn how to read the Quran, all those things. And they also teach some tajweed and all those things and also about how to pray the different prayers, how to do the salat, all those things. So in those days, right, they also took me to the competition, speech competitions, where I have given speeches. And I also, once I gave a speech and I got a second prize as a pressure cooker in one of the 10th year celebration of a madrasa. So keeping that in mind, my grandfather was telling me at that time, like, if my brother is alive today, he will immediately would have taken you to the um, so to some speech, and he will make you speak in front of people. So my mindset at the time was, right, I immediately reacted, chichi, I won't go, I won't go, I said, I won't go. Okay. So it happened like, so that is the entry point where I got to know about Jamaat. And then, right, then I immediately, the objections started flowing. There was one book by one guy saying how, what is the correct way to think about Qadianiyat. And he mentioned like there are four ways we can think about Qadianiyat. That is the correct way to recognize whether Mirza Sahib is true or not. Naudzubillah min zalik. So first thing was like he said like the Atam did not die. The second thing he said, the British sponsored Mirza Sahib, Naudzubillah, and he insulted Jesus. Three things. And one more thing he said, yeah, one more thing he said was like, Ghulam Tastagir, he says like, Mirza Sahib says Ghulam Tastagir and Ismail Aligari, they wrote a book saying like, Mirza Sahib will die due to our mubahala, but they died. Okay. And they say like, do you know, there is no such book on the face of the earth. Mirza Sahib, Mirza said, Naudzubillah min zalik, Mirza Sahib, without any hesitation he tells lies. Okay. Then I came to know like, it's Maulvi Ghulam Dastagir who used to write in his Faiz Rahmani, who wrote in his Faiz Rahmani. So I later learned like that book is indeed present. And that book not once but when hundreds of times Masimud al Islam mentions in his books like, it's Ghulam Dastagir who did the mubahala and mentioned in his book Faiz Rahmani. And he was eliminated from the face of the earth, right? So that is the things I used to pick up my school friends. One guy was a Hindu, Ashok, and another guy was Abdul Walid. So they took me in cycle to the nearby Jamaat, where at that time only Muhammad Ali Sahib Marhum was there. So he was the missionary, and he showed me like, these are all false claims. And I also got at the time, right, I also got one book from him, which is Truth About Ahmadiyya, written by Marhum Imam B.A. Rafiq Sahib, right? May Allah bless his soul. So he has taken each and every objection and clarified in that book. So so I brought that book. And also then I got, yeah, at the time I came to know like there is a Ahmadi in Pudipet itself. I used to write to Jamaat asking them for books, and they send me books. And this Abdur Rahman Sahib came to me one day on a Sunday during the tabligh, right? He told like, one Khalil Ahmad Sahib Marhum, he asked him to meet me in Pudipet. So he came and explained about that. He said like, how can British sponsor someone who kills their own god? Okay. So this is a very simple claim. And that guy in that book also, that Maulavi Mullah, that he has also claimed like, Qadianiyat has died even before partition, Naudzubillah min zalik. And there are efforts to and there are efforts going on now to give life to the dead body, Naudzubillah min zalik. So Abdurrahman Sahib, right, he also mentioned like, uh, it's not the case. If you just come and see our Jalsa Salana in London, Germany, you'll come to know what is the condition of the Jamaat in the present day world. Okay. So it happened like, so I did bayat in 1995 January, right? So so I did bayat. But one thing I can say is like, at the time of accepting Ahmadiyat, right, I can say like, I don't even know uh, some 10% of what I know now by the grace of Allah. I don't even know. I didn't even know the all the objections, answers to all the objections. There were many objections. So whatever debates I go in the what I'm doing in the WhatsApp now, all these things, right? If the same guy would have met me in 1995, at the time I was just 17 years old, and even for some time, right? The number of objections these people every day they come up with new objections, right? Against the itirazat against Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam. If they had raised me, they raised these questions on during that time, right, in 1995, 98 and all, I can say clearly, right, like I would have left the Jamaat. Okay. So by the grace of Allah, the doubts which I had at that time, right, so gradually Allah dawned upon me, what is this, what is that, what is this, what is that. So gradually he explained to me. So now I feel like, so when I visited the Jamaat for getting clarifications about the objections, right, now I feel like the Mauli Sahib at that time did not explain me the point clearly, right, with the knowledge by the grace of Allah, what the knowledge which I have now, I sometimes feel like he didn't explain to me clearly. He didn't do his job well at that time. When someone came out from asking and asked him about the questions about the Jamaat, right? Then this Abdurrahman Sahib, right? One thing which I saw in this book, Truth About the Split. Okay, this Abdurrahman Sahib is still, still in touch with him. So he's the one who explained to me in the days before. But now, right, he's very proud. Like I excelled him in this WhatsApp debates and all. I when I put in so much points, right. So he one day say an example. See, he said like, I Fayaz, I how I feel, right. So you're getting me right at the time. Whatever doubts I have, Abdurrahman Sahib was explaining me. Okay, but he's a simple person. He's working in the market and all. But but his exposure to the Jamaat's resources is limited, right? So whatever he sees in his mother tongue, the Tamil language, he goes and read. But I'm a student. I got into engineering. I'm a graduate. I got into IT industry. I have access to many more resources than Abdurrahman Sahib. So when I build the argument based on whatever I read from Khulafa Ikram and Masih al Islam in the English literature and the websites, right? He really very he every time he'll say Alhamdulillah, and he one nice example he said, Fayaz, your to me like was I was going. Let us say it's like someone went out on a day and he saw a little mango, what you say, the sapling or tree or a small mango plant. Okay, he took it to his home and he planted that. Now he saw like it became a big tree and giving mangoes. So that's how I feel when I look into your arguments, how you make people shut their mouth, right? So that's my experience with Abdurrahman Sahib. I was very happy, Alhamdulillah. One day, right? I came across this book, Truth About the Split. You can check it yourself. Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Khalidul Masih Sani, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad radiallahu anhu was answering the objections of Lahoris. And Lahoris were boasting like, we have that companion with us, this companion with us, who you have, all these things. So Al Muslim Rasulullah Ta'ala was also explaining like, was also giving the details of who are all his side, and who he talks about the ikhlas and muhabbat, how sincere devoted Ahmadis they are. So while mentioning that, right, he make a mention about a particular village. I don't know, I forgot the place. He say like, there are two Ahmadis there. One one whose name is Abdul Rahman, and another his name is Fayaz. Okay, I immediately told Abdul Rahman Saib in those days when I that was in 2002 or something. I told him, see, Kaka, we used to say brother as Kaka here in Kerala and all. So Kaka, see how Huzur has hundreds of years ago he mentioned about Abdul Rahman and Fayaz in some village. By the grace of Allah, we are also connected here like Abdul Rahman and Fayaz. And one more Abdul Rahman also I identified. I'm working with him regularly. So he's Maulvi Sahib from Melapalayam, southern in southern Tamil Nadu. His name is also Abdul Rahman. So I told him like, it's great that Allah has a connection between Fayaz and Abdul Rahmans, Ibadur Rahmans. Okay, so he introduced me to Mauli Munir Ahmad Sahib, Marhuma Makfur. So here comes the turning point in my life as an Ahmadi. Like from whatever up to now, I was only a, what you say, brain child, you can say, or a brainy child, thinking only about the arguments which can feed in your brains, your intelligence, your mind, all these things. But this is the phase when I got in connection with Mauli Munir Ahmed Sahib. I got to know about the, so that is the area when I started tasting the spirituality within the Jamaat. The that's when I started to realize the hallmark of Jamaat Ahmadiyya is not these arguments, all these things and all. It's divine communion. Okay, at the time he was mentioning about Hazrat Bashir Ahmad Arshad Sahib, a convert from Anglo-Christian community. So he used to mention a particular line from that. I think he read it in Urdu. Also, I don't know English, but later I got procured a copy when I was in America. I got the book Life Supreme. So in Life Supreme, Hazrat Bashir Ahmad Arshad Sahib, Marhuma Makfur, he was mentioning like the real aim of as a Mirza Sahib's advent was not to talk about Khatme Nabuwat or Hayate Mamate Masih. His sole aim and intention was to bring back the community which is in the same spirit and color as the community of Sahabas, right? So that is his duty, that is his assigned duty by Allah. That is what he yearned for, that is what he prayed for. But due to all these objections from mullahs and who are disturbing his mission, all these objections, because he need to answer those objections so that good minded people, good hearted people will enter the fold of Jamaat, right? So that is what he, so Mirza Sahib had to answer those questions. Otherwise, if you are left alone, right, he will always talk about this one point only, about bringing back the spirituality and how to make people full of light like those of the, like the sahabe Rasul radiallahu anhum. So, so when you ask about this signs and all, right, there are some signs which I have seen during my encounters with Mauli Munir Ahmed Sahib. The first, the even though I have seen it in the later part of the time, so what I should mention at the top, right, is the dream when which I saw on the night of election of Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib, Aydullah Tala bin Aziz, Khalifatul Masih Al Khamis, the present head of the Jamaat. So when the election was going on in London at that time, okay, the thing is, there was announcement to pray and fast, all those things are being done. I never did that and all. I did not fast, but at least I have prayed for the Khilafat to be the next Khalifa to be quickly elected, right? So it has been 5 days then since the demise of Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad Sahib, Rahimullah, Khalifatul Masih Rabi, Rahimullah Ta'ala. So it happened, right, on that night of election when people are busy electing the new Khalifa in London, right? At that time, I saw a dream wherein Mauli Munir Ahmed Sai Marhum Makfur. So he came in my dream and he entered into my room and he was telling Hazrat Fazle Umar was elected as the Khalifatul Masih. I said, what is the, how we should call this new Khalifa? He said, you should call him Khalifatul Masih Al Khamis. Okay. So this Fazle Umar term, right? I have read it once or twice. That's all. At least once, I guess, not twice even. Once I read somewhere, I vaguely remember like it was the name of Hazrat Muslim or Zilatul at the time of seeing the dream. But Mauli Munir Ahmed Sai Marhuma Makfur in the dream, he clearly says like Hazrat Fazle Umar is being elected as the Khalifatul Masih and he should be called as Khalifatul Masih Al Khamis. So that is one of the greatest sign which I've seen, right? So so many a times it happened like sometimes, right, I go to a mosque and I open the kitab. I told you once, right, I opened the kitab and I didn't tell you the reason, but this is the reason why I named my YouTube channel as illuminating book, which is Kitabul Munir in the Quran. So it mentioned as Kitabul Munir. So when I opened the Quran, I saw like Kitabul Munir, the light right in front of me. The first verses, the first words which I saw was like Kitabul Munir. Okay. So That's it. That was the Gair Ahmadi mosque. I prayed my Lohar there and I combined my Asr there because I need to go back to work office. So in the evening, right at around 5:30 or 6 during my tea time, I called Moli Munir Ahmed Saib. So I also got into the habit of asking Moli Munir Ahmed Saib, did you see any dream today? So as usual, my practice, I asked Moli Munir Ahmed Saib, did you see any dream today? Moli Saib. Moli Saib said like, I did not see any dream. But when I woke up, right, I was telling these words, Kitabim Munir, Kitabim Munir. Okay. So, so I don't know, maybe that got fulfilled in this YouTube. I was really wondering, I am some other place, some 6 kilometers away. I am opening a kitab, the Quran, the Holy Quran in the Gair Ahmadi Mosque. I see the words Kitabul Munir. And Mauli Sahib is sleeping in his place. And when he is waking up and the words in his mouth was like, Kitabim Munir, Kitabim Munir. Okay. So there's also a word tajruba. Okay. So I was in one day I was having heavy fever and the words tajruba came into my mouth and I asked Molly, say, what is the meaning of this word tajruba? So he said like it's experience. So you need to experience. So Masim al Islam is telling, no, he didn't say about Masim al Islam. He said that the meaning is experience. I don't know what is the import of that. So something happened which is related to something else and something which I saw like which supported like Jamaat is in divine communion with the God, with the living God, even to this day. So with that experience, I'm entering my room the other night or something, some couple of days later I enter into my room and I switched on the MTA. It was a Ghana. The Jalsa Salana was happening in Ghana. I think Huzur was also present at the time in Ghana. So immediately switched on the TV, right? Someone is singing a nazam and tajruba karke dekho. I'm not very good in Urdu. The word, the nazam line which started with tajruba, right? He's Masim is telling experience the living God in Islam, right? Somewhat in that meaning. I don't know the exact words. So those are the things which I see as which I saw as the thing and the signs of the living God. So which is the which are the experience which I cherish most in Ahmadiyya, lad, uh, even more than the arguments, debates, all these things, right? These are the experience which I cherish for my entire life, inshallah, which I'll cherish for my entire life, even going forward. Once while I was in Boston, okay, I went on my work trip. So I was staying with my Hindu friend. Okay, his so everyone went. So my other friends were also there. So everyone went, and he brought his wife and some 5-year-old kid. Okay, so people when they got in, came in the beach name is Riviere Beach. I forgot the name and I later checked it recently. What is the name of the beach? It's Riviere, Revere. So we went from Boston to that beach and everyone got excited, okay, on seeing the beach and everyone are enjoying the beach. And this small kid, right, who was 5 or 6 years old, they forgot him. Suddenly everyone was shouting, where is that guy, where is that guy, where is that guy? His father is running in one direction, his mother is running in one direction, all my friends they are searching in one direction. I don't know, sir. I don't know, but suddenly this thought came into my mind. I pray to Allah, like, Allah, maybe you can, if you want, you can make this sign of your living presence. Okay. Then suddenly, right, with some intuition, I started perpendicularly walking towards the road. Okay, the road is there, parallelly the beach and the shore is there, sea shore is there, it's parallel. And from the beach shore I'm walking perpendicularly directly toward, very fast I'm walking towards the shore. You can even you now you can see it in the Google map. There were some balconies built on the platform, the the place where you enter the beach from the road, right? There were some balconies. Okay. So when I walked really fast and entered the road, and I just stepped near the one of the staircase of that balcony, right? That child is coming down from the stairs. Correctly he's coming. If I was slow or if I was fast, I would have missed him. correctly when I entered that point where the stairs end down, stairs are coming down. At that point, right, that guy is coming. So immediately I got hold of him, and I went back to my friends and I said like, your child is found now. Okay. So he became more disturbed about my faith later. Okay. So he used to tell my that guy, the father of the child, he's my colleague only, right? He was my colleague at that time in the office. So later, right, he became more antagonistic or something disturbed, because even though he was grateful that I found his lost child, but he got somewhat disturbed about his faith. He used to go out and tell my manager, because both of us share the same manager, lady manager. He used to go and tell my lady manager Aruna like, Fayas won't eat this prasadas and all. These people bring this what you say, the prasada from the temples, right? We don't eat that because that was presented before a deity, right? So we won't. He used to go and tell gossip. Fayas won't eat that. Maybe you can try. So my manager also came and tried. Fayas, you want to eat this? And I said, I want to eat this. Oh, you also don't eat, right? Because I thought like only Christians show such attitude. You're also showing that attitude. Okay. So that's a different story. And interesting thing was like, you're a Pakistani, you won't like this. 2011 World Cup, India versus Sri Lanka final happening in Mumbai. Okay. So after Zuhar prayer, our time, Zuhar, right? As usual, my practice, I opened the Quran, Tamil Quran. My grandfather only bought me that Quran. Okay. So when I opened the Quran, somehow my mind is all full of the World Cup final only. India is going to play Sri Lanka World Cup final 2011. What's going to happen? Okay, with that backdrop, with that thing in the back of my mind, I opened the Quran, right? uh, it was a verse which was saying like, no, those gods will desert them at that time. Those gods will desert them at that time. Okay. So okay, some verse I said, okay, I was about to close it. I saw that suddenly I noticed that that verse is verse number 83. The surah number is 19, Maryam. Okay. So 1983. So Allah immediately made me realize like, now 1983 is going to repeat today. 2011. India is again going to win the World Cup after some 28 years. India is going to win the World Cup again. I immediately, at that time we have only this SMS texting and all. So I texted to every Hindu friends, Christian friends, everyone. I said like, I saw this Quran, I saw 1983. You are going to see 1983 today. India is going to win the World Cup today. Okay. So these are all the things. So now I think I can move over to the opposition, right? I can tell something about the opposition. You have any questions, Razi Saib? Or you have any question?
No, brother, you can speak about the opposition, but Alhamdulillah, mashallah, your story is really inspiring, and the incidents you have mentioned also prove the existence of God, mashallah. So, if you can
Alhamdulillah.
also tell us the opposition you faced and how your father converted as well, these two things we would like to know.
Yeah, yeah. So my father, right? He was at the. I somehow got drifted into the experience with what are the spiritual, whatever the science. I got drifted. So the thing is like, so I accepted Ahmadiyya in 1995. When the very first time my father came to know was like, I refused to join the Lailatul Qadr prayer in the Sunnah Jamaat mosque. I started at that time. I was 17 years, right? So I started crying at that time, like, I won't go to Sunnah Jamaat mosque. I'm going to Ahmadiyya mosque in the Kodambakam. It's nearby place, 6 kilometers away. I'm going to Kodambakam along with Abdurrahman Sahib. So that is the first instance where they came to know, like, now this guy has converted and he won't pray behind our mullahs. Okay. So he used very very filthy words. He used to talk about Masih Maud al-Islam, my father. So uh, he also used to say about some tuition master in the past. I mentioned about MKS Mohiddin Ali Sahib marhum, right? My grandfather's elder brother, his son, he was studying in a tuition master. That tuition master used to mock this guy. He said, you know about your father, he accepted Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. You know how Mirza Ghulam Ahmad died? And he used very very filthy words. I At that point, right, I asked my father, what happened to the tuition master? Is he alive now? He said, No, no, he's dead. How did he die? He's a drunkard. He drunk a lot one day and he went and fall. The train went over him. He got into a train accident and he died there. Right. So this is a very clear sign. But he didn't realize at that time. And he also used to use the same filthy words, very vulgar words about Masih Maud alayhi salatu wassalam. And later, one point, right, he also used to tell me, okay, now you go ahead and you accept Ahmadiyyat. But one time will come, you need to listen only to what I say. Okay. So that was his arrogance at that time. And they later I meant understood like it was my marriage time where he would not allow me to marry a Ahmadi girl. Okay, that happened like that. I had to marry a non-Ahmadi girl. I actually I asked for pardon from the Jamaat. I wrote a letter because my father's condition was like that at that time. So he said, right, at your some one time will come when then I will speak. You have to listen to what I say. Okay, he said in a loud voice. But that time came, that was my marriage time. He was not able to speak because in his tongue, right, he got a tongue carcinoma, cancer. So he got operated for that. And after that, right, he was a robust guy. And even the other day, my one of my nephew was telling like uncle used to look like a military guy. He was very beautiful at that time. So they had to on the left hand side they had to cut this jaw because they need to operate on the tongue, right? The tongue is full of carcinoma cancer, and it also affected the jaw. So they had to cut the jaw bone. He cried looking at me. He said like he suddenly came out of the before the operation theater and he was standing in the balcony. And when he was he's telling him he tell when he was telling me the thing, he broke. He told like, Fayaz, you should know what they are going to do. I thought like you should be aware of what they are going to do. They are going to cut this bone here. While telling, he broke into tears. I I also came home and at least for 30 minutes I was crying on that day. So that jawbone they have removed and they operated. And at the time also I wrote to Khalifatul Mr. Abi Rahimullah Ta'ala for his cure, and I told him when he was operated, and he took it in a positive manner. He didn't make any objection. But from that point onwards, right, I used to, because I remember like the objection he said was like with related to the mouth of promise Messiah alayhi salam, but very filthy objection. I won't even mention it here. Okay, he was repeatedly mentioning about the mouth, something related to the mouth of Masih alayhi salam while he was dying. You know what the mullahs, you know every objection of the mullahs, right? So you know what I'm trying to say. So that that exact his mouth got affected after some time, right? Whatever he said about Masih al Islam, the mouth got his mouth got affected and he got tongue carcinoma. So after that, right, I started gradually telling him about the Jamaat whenever I read something, not direct tabligh, whatever I read about whatever Huzur says, whatever in some incident, whatever Moli Munir Ahmad Saib says, right? All these things I slowly started telling to him. He never objected after that. So he will silently listen to that. One day while talking, right, he told my wife like my wife my mother was I was telling something. My mother was asking what he's telling. He said like he's telling Hazrat Masih al Islam said like that. Okay, that's all. He's done. Okay. So he said Masih al Islam. And first time he's telling this word Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam. He was telling Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani in singular term. Okay, in a very derogating terms he used about Masih al Islam. But that is the first time in his life he said like Fayaz is telling us Masih al Islam said this. Okay. So then later, right, one day he came to me and told me like, Fayaz, I'm going to do bayat. Okay. So that's how he did the bayat. And I told him clearly, Masih al Islam said, we are not someone, some people, because like what the mullahs preach, we are not someone who uh, who are what you say crazy about winning people, showing the numbers and all, right? So I told him like, if you made up the mind, you can go ahead and do bayat. But uh, but listen to this. As Masih al Islam had said, like in the war, right, you should not turn back, turn your heels, right? If you do that, You being non-Ahmadi is a different thing, but you become an Ahmadi and you turn your heels, right? Due to some opposition, you turn back and you go back to your faith, right? Then Masih al-Islam is telling about that people that it will be good if they have not born at all, right? Rather than getting into the this punishment of Allah by showing your back to the Jamaat and going back to reverting to your old faith due to some opposition. He said, no, 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 Fayaz, I am very clear. I am going to accept the Jamaat. So that's how we did the bayat. By the grace of Allah, this operation was done on 2002 September 11. I think it's September 11, I guess, right? September 11, he has done the operation for tongue carcinoma. 2002, same year as my marriage. So by the grace of Allah, 20 years is going to pass in a couple of days. The tongue carcinoma or cancer in any form did not return to him. That's it. It has gone forever. Then seeing him, my sister also did the bayat, and my mother, right? My mother. This was in this bayat was done in 2004 after his operation, and he recovered. Right, his state of mind also changed. His body changed. Everything changed. Also, his mind also changed. He accepted Ahmadiyyat. My daughter also, sister also accepted Ahmadiyyat, and my mother, right? The reason he did bayat was in the after the incident, the aftermath of Bahauddin Mandi incident in 2005, where people brutally killed 11 Ahmadis on the morning of October 7th, I believe. And it was a fasting time, Ramadan as well. People kept their Sahari and then they went to the mosque for Fajr prayer. Some 11 innocent souls, these cowardly mullahs and those who were instigated by them, they shot at them from behind their backs. Okay. And they all died on that day. So, as Khaliful Masih Khami Sayyidullah Ta'ala bin Nazil Aziz was telling in his khutbah on that day, I forgot the actual Urdu words. He said, like, these people are inviting the wrath of Allah upon them. The next day, at the same time, the same Fajr time, a big earthquake shook Pakistan. The epicenter of the earthquake was in Muzaffarabad, where each and every mullah terrorist organization have their head, what do you say, the head office. That is the epicenter. So this is a very, very, very clear sign. Uh, Huzur didn't mention it as a sign, but it was in our family and our relatives, right? Everyone got, because the previous day we were talking about those 11 people, shahadat of those 11 people, innocent souls. And the next day, immediately next day, this Pakistan earthquake came, and terrible earthquake. It shook Pakistan to the core. Of course, humanity first. Pakistan has endeavored to help as much people as they can with all the resources we poured in. But this was something, I don't know. People can take it the way they want, but it was very clear in the morning. There is a clear case of aggression against some innocent people of a minority community. In the evening, as the Khalifah Masih al Khamis was telling, like, they are inviting the wrath of Allah. The next Fajr, this earthquake is coming. So I leave it to the judgment of the viewers, right? So looking at that example, my mother also did the bayat. So then later my wife joined, and my daughter is also a Waqf now. So it happened was like Huzur visited India in 2008. So his plan was to attend the Jalsa Salana Qadian, because it's 100 years of, I think, Khilafat, right? Yeah, 100 years of Khilafat in 2008. So that was his plan. He came to Kerala. He visited the Jamaats there. He spent quite some time there. From Kerala, he came to India. Sorry, Chennai. Chennai, there is a place called St. Thomas Mount. That is the place where you have the grave and the places related to St. Thomas, who is one of the disciple of Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So there is a place where he got killed in St. Thomas Mount, and there is also his graveyard in his grave in the place called Santom, Mylapore. Huzur wanted to see them, but he unfortunately was not able to visit those places. But he did came and open a mosque. That's our second mosque in Chennai, in my memory. All these days we are in Kodambakam, and that's the new mosque in Purdi Vakam, we say. So he came and opened the mosque and he prayed there. So very shortly afterwards, right? So this news, slowly this news got, Huzur was there for only 3 or 4 hours in Chennai. Okay, as per the security advisors advice. So he planned initially to spend one night in Chennai, but immediately after 4 or 5 years he returned to the airport and he flew back to Kerala. So at the time, right, this story slowly it dawned upon the mullahs, like the Ahmadiyya Khalifa was here in Chennai. What we were doing, he was here. We didn't even move our single muscle. So again they started talking about Ahmadiyya Jamaat. It happened to their benefit, right? In 2009, to add fuel to the fire, one of the lady here passed away. Okay, poor lady. So we don't have at the time we did not have a proper burial ground in Chennai. So this lady's burial, right? They created a big uproar. But if you go to southern part of Tamil Nadu, we have the burial grounds at least 3 or 4 places we have. So these people, right? So they forced the police to dig out the body outside the grave. After these people, our guys went and buried there, and they came back as usual. But later they created uproar, and there was a big mob was being raised by this, instigated by these mullahs, right? They gathered around that graveyard and they forced the police and the authorities to dig out the body of that poor lady. Okay, so none of these women welfare organizations, everyone were keeping quiet. Okay, even though they were this is a non-Muslim country, so everyone kept quiet. No one has talked about this injustice being done on a body, the what you say, the deceased, the corpse of a deceased lady, poor woman. Okay, that was the state. As usual, as expected, right? Instead of we getting any what you say, any support from people, we getting any how will you say that, some nice word, we getting the feelings of the community, right? So people started opposing Ahmadiyyat. An Ahmadi lady was being an injustice and aggression was done on the dead body of a poor Ahmadi lady. She was also young. She's not up to the on the at the age of death. Okay, she was some 30 or 35 only. So instead of that, it also, the mullahs also added more fuel to the fire, and there was a great amount of what you say, the opposition. Already my two maternal uncles, right, they were already bubbling with fear, what you say, the wrath against me, because I told you, right, my grandfather's elder brother was an Ahmadi. So my grandfather was a supporter of Ahmadi, so he only did some tabligh to me, and I did the bayat. At one point of time I asked my grandfather, you did tabligh to me, and why don't you go and did do bayat? So I said, at least do the signature, at least accept Ahmadiyyat in a secretive manner. He did that, and this has instigated my. I think I'm going above the time, so I think this instigated my uncles, but still my relatives are like that. But one good thing is like all the ladies of our family, right? Whether they did bayat or not, they somehow they got into the habit of paying chanda to the Jamaat. I take them to the, I pay that in the Humanity First, Mariam Shadi Fund, all these things. By the grace of Allah, even now, and the other day I was also, I wondered and I told my wife, like, our relatives have got the joys of spending in the way of Allah through our community. Even whether they accept Ahmadiyyat or not, everyone is regularly paying to some, in the way of Allah, in some manner or other, through the Jamaat Ahmadiyya. Yes, Rajesh.
Mashallah, brother. Really, really inspiring story you shared with us today. In the end, brother, I want to ask one more question. If you can tell the Muslims regarding the importance of Khilafat.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Khilafat, what I can say is like once Hazrat, what I can immediately think about is like Hazrat third Khalifatul Masih, Hazrat Hafiz Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib, Rahimullah Ta'ala. So in that time, he was asked about how did he, what is his relationship with the Jamaat. He is the head of the Jamaat, he is the Khalifatul Masih, and there is the Jamaat. and he was passing turbulent times because the 1974 Pakistan Assembly declared Ahmadis as non-Muslims, right? So we were passing through a very turbulent time. Someone asked him, some press reporter, someone, how do you see the relationship between the you and Jamaat? He said, like, we are not two different things, right? The Khilafat is an institution. The Jamaat is the body, if I'm telling it correctly. Maybe some words I have missed. The Jamaat is the body and the Khilafat is the soul. Okay. So this is the thing which holds the body together. If the soul is away, right? If the soul has left the body, then each and every organ of the body, right, will start falling down. Okay. So that is the case we saw in the history of Islamic world as well. When the Khilafat is gone, right? So slowly, what's left is a painful fluttering of the organs, right? When the soul is going to, body is going to die, you see the, when the head is severed, right? You see the sacrificial lamb or goat or camel, it starts fluttering in pain, legs and so that is the only movement you can see within that community which doesn't have the soul. So I come back, maybe I didn't mention it clearly. As Khalifatul Masih said, the imam or the khalifa, the head of the community, is the soul, and the Jamaat is the body. You cannot see both together. You cannot separate both. So at the time of the tribulation, when the Jamaat was suffering, he was not able to even sleep in the night, right? So that is the pain he felt for the Jamaat. So what I then where I went was like, I went back to the Islamic history, and Khilafat was the soul after Nabuwat. Khilafat was the soul, and it held the community together. Even those who went away after the demise of Hazrat Muhammad Musa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Khilafat brought them together again, right? So Khilafat held everything together, but when the soul passed away, right, the body starts integrating, and also the body starts, what you say, smelling of bad smell, right? Once it got decomposed, right? That's the condition of Muslims we see here. They have split, disintegrated, and they have also decomposed, and they went to a very bad level. And some Maulavi or some leader of Pakistan said, even Hindus, they get ashamed of your condition, right? Even non-Muslims get ashamed looking at your condition. Okay. So that is the soul we have. So we also invite everyone to accept this Ahmadiyyat, because we have Khilafat. Above everything else, we have Khilafat. We have the soul, which don't, not only the soul which don't only connect us together, it also creates a living communion. It's a vital link between our creator, between the creator and the creation, because Khilafat is the connecting point between creator and the creator, and also a connecting point between each of us. So in that way you can fulfill the two duties, hukukullah and the hukukul ibad. Whatever duty you can do to Allah, whatever duty you can do to your fellow human beings, but without the soul you can't do anything. So that's my concluding message. Jazakallah, brother.
Jazakallah, brother Fayaz. In the end, we thank you for giving us so much time today, and we thank you for sharing your wonderful journey to Islam, Ahmadiyya, and all of these amazing experiences, which not only prove the truthfulness of Islam, Ahmadiyya, but also prove that Allah the Almighty is with this Jamaat, and that all of the opponents will continue to be humiliated by Allah the Almighty, because
Inshallah.
this is His Jamaat, and He revealed this to Hazrat Masih Maud, and we
Jazakallah.
invite all brothers to do their research, and inshallah we pray that Allah guides them as well. Once again, brother Fayaz, Jazakumullah for your time today. May Allah bless you.
Jazakallah.
If you have not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you can get notifications for every new video. Also make sure to like and comment on the video and follow on Twitter and Instagram.
سفينا صل على محمد